Middlekauff! Hey, hey! What's up, everybody? Monday afternoon, Ham Live on YouTube. I'm Guy, that's John. If you're watching on YouTube, it's great to have you. Like it, subscribe to it, check out the podcast down in the description below. There was some talk that we might turn this, it was planned to be a YouTube Live, and now there's so many meaty topics that we're thinking about just making it a podcast. So if we do make it a podcast and you listen to this, we appreciate you being here. Leave us a review, Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, get in the mailbag, holler at your boys, and ask us a question.
Why not throw it on one of the other revenue streams?
Where else can we put it?
Would that be prudent to our unborn children? I don't think it would. So I think we need to.
Yeah. So we're what else do we other revenue streams we haven't explored yet?
We got another one we're working on. We're just more.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard most average millionaires have 7. So.
Okay, we do have one where I can't wait to talk about this.
Yeah, it's gonna take we got some work to do, guy.
Got to take some effort on our part. Yeah. What's up, everybody? Great to have you. We got topics today. We got stuff going on. Phil Mickelson just got $200 million. Actually, he gets 160. 40 goes immediately to cover gambling debts, and then he gets the 160.
I heard someone say
that establish residency in Saudi Arabia and then not have to pay tax. That'd be.
I've heard one thing they've done, and I don't think obviously DJ and Phil ain't telling everyone the details of the financial arrangements or the advances. Like, let's say Taylor Gooch got $25 million. We give you $25 million. I give you an advance, but if you earn 10 of that is a true advance, the other 15, like, I'm basically comping you for the money you're going to earn playing. You have to come to all this, and if you win $15 million playing, I've already paid you that money. Shit like that.
Wait, that is how it works?
Well, with some of them, with guys like him, with Phil and DJ, like, some people think that DJ got $125 million, and the next like $25 million will be part of like his winning. It's just, I mean, you could schedule a contract however you want. I don't think it's just true. Here's $200 million. And then if Phil wins this weekend, he gets 4. They might have already paid him the advance for a little while. And when you pay at numbers that high, you think Phil's going to complain like, "Where's my 4?" when I just got 200?
Well, he made it every dollar.
Phil's a bad example, but like some of the other guys that fall under like a Kevin Na or whatever might have got $20 million, but 10 of it's a true advance. The other 10 covers future winnings, which you would take, right? Money now, better than money in the future.
Yeah, you would, but still, it would kind of suck when you win an event and just. Oh, wait, we already paid you for that one 6 months ago.
We already paid you $20 million when you were making 2.
I know, but then you win an event and you walk away with nothing. There's nothing.
But you already got the money.
Yeah, but I just won today. Like, what do I?
Well, that's why they're paying so much money.
I get it. I'm just saying it's fun to walk out with the car keys and you toss them to your caddy, or Kevin Na did that a few years ago, or Sam Burns got the Firebird, whatever the hell he got the other day. When you win, you still want to walk away with something. I have something now that I didn't have yesterday.
Yeah, I think they call it WAD Wednesday on the tour. It's when the direct deposit comes through.
WAD Wednesday.
What do you think Aaron Donald calls that? Big bank account?
Aaron Donald's like, I have found my passion for football again.
I saw Schrager, who was clearly at the wedding. You see Sean McVay? Do you follow Sean McVay's wife on Instagram?
I don't know if I do or not.
Well, the wedding, I mean,
he was there. I saw a bunch of photos of McVay. He was definitely there. I mean, Schrager.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Woods, a lot of players were there. Donald was there, and he's like, do not get it twisted. He contemplated retirement. This was not a money grab. It's like, well, they just gave him $90 million. I mean, it wasn't not a money grab. And I'm going to throw away the term money grab. I'm no longer going to use that. But this was about the money, which there's nothing wrong with that. Just, it's okay. Like, why not just accept that you wanted a lot more money, you got it, and now you're playing football?
Yeah, I mean, he was going to walk away from $55 million.
Well, remember, he told everyone in 2014, buddies, friends, pals, parents, I'm playing 8 years, and then I'm done. It's like,
well, we didn't find out about that until it came time to negotiate for year 9, though.
Was he telling Shady McCoy and Brandon Marshall that? Or was
That's what he says, yeah. But I mean, no one said his rookie year. Aaron's 8 and done. It's now that it's time to negotiate for year 9. That story comes out.
Yeah, I haven't met that many humans that talk like that.
8 years and done.
I guess maybe if you're in a crazy industry like, hey, I'm going to Wall Street. I got 10 years. I'm going to go all out from 25 to 35, and then I'm out.
But
so
see,
maybe
this is what happens. People who talk like that then realize, like, shit, another 3 years, I can make another 40. I got 3 more years in me. And the next thing you know. Well,
that's why scammers like Enron and Bernie Madoff can never stop. They're like, we can just make a little bit more, and then we're out.
I think that's a pretty common. It's no different like one more chip. Then I'm putting the bag away.
Was always the weed dealer in high school. He's like, yeah, you can't make this money working at McDonald's. Like, no, you can't, but you're going to the pokey when you get caught.
That's why he's dealing behind Taco Bell. Didn't want to work.
It's weird even saying,
where you eat.
People watching this that are like 22 years old, back when we were kids, to get a bag of weed, you had to meet someone in a parking lot where cops couldn't see it because it was illegal.
Right.
Now guy drives up, you give him a credit card, and you say thanks.
Or you wait in line on a public street.
Yeah.
For a building that's called
And you go, wait, my purchase was $60. Why am I paying $100? They're like, well, this tax, Gavin gets this money. You're like, Jesus. Yeah. Can you just tell me where the guy is behind McDonald's?
Rather be in a parking lot.
Yes.
Nobody fills out a golf shirt like Justin Herbert. Did you see Herbert was in the Angels jersey release video?
No, I did not.
The Angels have a new jersey, and Justin Herbert's in it.
Look good?
The jersey looks awesome. But I did wonder a little, like, if you were Herbert, would you be like, I'm only going to do, the Chargers are to the Rams what the Angels are to the Dodgers. And I don't know if I'd want to be a part of that. If I was Herbert, I'd be like, yeah, I'm only doing Dodger stuff. I don't want to be a second-class citizen in this town.
You're thinking of it, though, through the way we look at stuff. He is 100% not looking at it like that. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'll go hang out with Mike Trout.
On a beach. That's what it was. They shot it on a beach, so.
It's not like he had to actually go to the game.
Yeah, that's true. Didn't have to go anywhere.
You're right, though. I would be like, hey, Dodgers need a guy to throw out first pitch. I'm your guy. Because what are they going to say? No to Justin Herbert to throw out a first pitch? They would have let him do it.
I mean, especially it'd be like Herbert has been practicing and thinks he can break 89 miles an hour with this first pitch.
And if I was in Herbert's representation, I'd be like, well, we will do the Yankee series, the Red Sox series, the Cardinal series, or the Giants series. That's it. Do they play any of those teams? Because if they
Sunday Night Baseball, ESPN, World Series Game 1. I'll do World Series Game 1.
Do they do first pitches for those?
I don't feel like they do.
I don't either. I feel it's like a middle of June thing.
Did you see the video like a couple weeks ago where the guy was supposed to throw out the first pitch and Scherzer just took the mound before the ceremonial first pitch and the guy was just kind of standing there and they called him off the field like, come off. He never got his first pitch.
Scherzer didn't budge.
No, Scherzer didn't even acknowledge that he was just out there just whoosh, whoosh.
That's incredible. No, that's very Max. I love that guy.
He didn't just get bit by his dog or something. He got hurt yesterday.
Yeah, he claims it was, he's injured and he went down. The dog was spooked and did a quick bite, on the hand, but said it's just a 1-day injury. Nothing too crazy.
A 1 day. Okay.
I honestly, if you told me Max Scherzer bit his dog back, I'd believe you.
The dog with 2 different eye colors? Like I thought you can't have that dog attack that guy, right? Scherzer's dog has 2 different eyes, just like him.
I didn't know that.
Pretty sure he got a dog with the same eye situation as him.
Are you sure that the dog had 2 different eyes and he wanted to be like the dog, so he instituted that? Or is that natural, his eyes?
His eyes are natural. And I think he found a dog that has the same thing.
So you're saying his eyes naturally are 2 different. One's brown, one's blue or something?
Yeah.
That guy was just...
Which I think would be a pretty cool feature to have.
I don't really notice eye color, to be honest with you. Never really have.
Oh, look at you. Blind to color, John.
Do you notice people's eye colors?
I probably notice blue eyes.
Yeah. Not something I'm really paying. I've never paid
attention
to.
Other than that, I couldn't tell you right now, if you quick, Nick Bosa's eye color. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be better at guess waist size, bra cup, certain other features of humans. I probably, women,
high-waisted.
You just check out guy's got fucking long legs.
You'd be like, look at that, high-waisted. You're like, what chick is John talking about?
No.
Defensive end.
I had taken an edible last week and I was scrolling on the internet and there was this picture. I think the Kings might have tweeted out that some magazine did the 75 greatest NBA teams of all time, and the 2002 Sacramento Kings cracked the list. In the 70s or whatever. I think several teams that never won a championship, on an individual year, some Suns teams, and it was the 5 guys all standing next to each other. It was Hito, Doug, Bibby, Peja, Vladi, and Chris. And Chris is not as tall as you think. Chris is actually, and Peja are like the same. Chris is like 6'8".
And
Vladi's huge. And Doug is what, 6'7"? Doug, Peja, and Chris Webber, all similar size. You go, Chris Webber was banging against guys 7 feet, but he's actually probably a 6'8"er. The difference, though, is Webber's fucking arms, guy, were as long as Vladi's body. Webber's arms are freakishly long. I bet Chris Webber had arms that were like of a 7'2" guy. You know, and you realize he was not KG or Tim Duncan height, but his arms were freakishly long. I noticed things like that.
Yeah. Key skill.
Long ass arms, man. Doug's sneaky bigger than you think.
I mean, not to us.
But you know, just like him standing next to like a power forward. That happened. Like Clay stands next to Draymond, like Clay might have him by an inch.
Yeah.
Just throws you off and you realize, wait, that guy's a 2, that guy's a 4. Or 5.
But also, you don't rebound with the top of your head. You rebound with your hand. So how far can you reach and how far can you jump and can you box out? And
ask the round mound to rebound, right?
Exactly. All right, John. A few things to get to. We've got some news. Well, I guess the first piece of news was the Niners changed their schedule. Their mandatory OTA practices were supposed to be next week. They moved them to this week, which means now if Debo skips out, he gets fined. If he doesn't show up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all 3 practices are at 10:50 a.m. So, stay tuned. Tuesday, we'll have Kyle Shanahan's going to talk right after, and then we'll be back on the tube on Tuesday afternoon with telling you what we saw at the OTA practice. But so that's the first piece of news is the Niners moved their schedule around.
And I think we both agreed that it's safe to bet this will be the last 3 practices of the offseason till training camp.
That this now replaces next week.
Next week will not happen.
Are not getting swapped out for
voluntary.
Yeah. They're just involuntaries, and then we'll retire to the Red Bull vodkas.
You get a much longer break.
Yeah.
I looked it up before we hopped on because I had seen some numbers. How much does he get fined? And it's basically $90,000. And it's not 30-30-30. It's like a 15-30-45. So every day you miss, the fine goes up. And this goes for any player around the league. I saw a headline today. Aaron Rodgers, NFL, sneaky, incredible job if you're a good player. You only have to show up from August 1st till your season ends and 5 other days. Not 7 days, not a week. Really, you get to town Sunday afternoon, you're this rich, you private jet in. Monday, you're not even on the field. You're probably just BSing, eating some lunch, watching a little film. Then you practice for 3 days, and then you're done. You have 5, like Trent Williams, Aaron Rodgers. Beside the 6 months, they work 5 days a year, the other 6 months. That's a pretty good gig. And I think a lot of players of their ilk kind of do that, right? And I got no problem with it after witnessing what OTAs have become. But let's face it, the difference is Debo, like you see Trent was at the game too. Like Trent's here. Trent's going to be at practice. I think there's still people question whether Nick's going to show up or not. I would expect Nick. You're not going to get fined. He'll be there. Now, how much he does, who knows? But I do think the number one question, like, is Debo willing? Because as you told me, and I do think I've seen this too, the new CBA, they changed some rules because they didn't want to have to do like a holdout means nothing. And I understand where the teams are coming from. Just make it black and white. Like, we don't want to get to a point where we can't rescind fines. Like, if you're going to make
don't
things
want to be in the
make it
position to have to rescind fines.
Yeah, just make it black and white. Like, if it's voluntary, it's voluntary. And I think the biggest difference of OTAs when I got involved in the league, and definitely well before that, players always felt like you say it's voluntary, but that's bullshit. If I don't show up, you're pissed off. And it was true. And I think we've all been in jobs where like, yeah, you don't have to come in today, but it's like, yeah, I probably got to go in today. Where you just like, if you're not the boss, just tell me, do you need me in or do you not? And I think any good boss can just be black. Like, you have to come in today or you don't have to come in today. And I think that's where the NFL has gotten now. And it's like, they can't rescind these fines. So if you're going to skip, and it'll be interesting who around the league doesn't show up. I think most guys show up because it's like, why would you want to just pay $90,000 when it's 3 days of work, guy? 3.
Well, kind of 3. I mean, the practice is slated to be about an hour long.
I would imagine most practices are that way. Practice
is at 10:50 a.m. Kyle Shanahan talks to media at noon on Tuesday. So not going to be it's not a full day of, it's not double days by any stretch.
If I was Debo's representation and knowing that they can't rescind the fine, I would say show up and do nothing. I think that's the new thing, right? Because I don't blame Debo or Lamar. I cannot take a full speed rep under this contract.
Especially after CJ Beathard got carted off the field on Monday at Jags practice. So I think it's significant if Debo's there, because I do think if you're Debo and you are still hard line, I am not playing for these guys, which you and I both agree is an illogical stance at this point, given that there's really no motivation for the 49ers to move them, and they would only look bad if they did it. So it's a double whammy. But if you were him and you really wanted to take a hard line, you don't show up and you just basically say, whatever we negotiate, whether I negotiate it with the 49ers and they pay me, or I negotiate it with another team because they've traded me. Again, I don't think that's going to happen. Bad logic, but I'm just saying from his perspective, you say, we'll work the $90,000 into the deal. Like, I'm not showing up. And then when I do my deal with the Niners, they're going to pay me an extra $90,000 as a way to make good. And this is just money. Or you could look at it like, I'm being fined 90, and this is money I'm spending to try and get an extra $4 million a year out of them later. And this is just an investment in my negotiation tactic. Because I think if Debo showed up for a hold-in, just, standing there on the sideline wearing a hoodie or whatever, that would feel pretty significant for a guy that told Jeff Darlington, I am not going to play for this team again. If you show up, first of all, what is he wearing if he shows up and is standing on the field? Is he wearing a Niners shirt? Like, to walk into that building again says to me, I have thawed a little bit on the idea that I'm never playing for you again.
But I think we all agree that that's been thrown out the window. That's where I've seen
it's been thrown out the window from a Niners perspective. Like, I don't think there's I don't see how he's getting traded. I don't think it's happening, but it still requires him to acknowledge it and recognize it. And I think if he shows up, it's him recognizing a little bit like, this is the team I'm on.
He keeps going to Warriors games.
Didn't really smile when they put him on the screen. Kind of like Michael B. Jordan, did not want to be seen.
Did Michael B. Jordan just getting a breakup or someone?
Big breakup. I did a deep dive on this on Monday morning. I thought this might come up today. Lori Harvey, who is Steve Harvey's daughter,
who's hot,
who apparently has had, someone did a great gif like Lori Harvey dating, and it was a little kid with like 8 apples. Each apple had a bite taken out of it and just thrown to the side.
She dumped him.
They claim it was mutual, but I don't know if Lori Harvey dated P. Diddy and his son. Lori Harvey, there was a soccer player that she was engaged to.
Isn't Lori Harvey like 28?
Not very. I was going to say even younger.
Oh, 22, 25?
Yeah, that was my guess.
P. Diddy's like 48.
They were photographed together. I think there's a long line of like broken hearts left behind by Lori Harvey.
She's a heartbreaker.
Because everyone was like, you can see it in Michael B. Jordan's eyes.
Yeah, I saw a meme that was like, when you're heartbroken, you just want to cry in your bed, but the boys take you out for a night out and you don't want to any part of it. And he's just like so angry being there.
I highly recommend a Lori Harvey Twitter search just for all the responses to that tweet. 25 years old. So anyway,
makes sense.
I guess Debo, it's a tough position because part of the reason you wouldn't want to show up is because you maybe, and a lot of this with Debo, unfortunately, is we're left to guess, is that it's an awkward situation, right? It's not that there was some anonymous report that Debo doesn't want to play there. Jeff Darlington said, I talked to Debo, he wants to be traded.
That's so long ago. They've talked since. The players have talked since. Like, I think that report now is kind of irrelevant given where we're at. Like, that individual tweet and report. I don't find the relevancy there now, the awkward situation when they've all communicated since.
Yeah, he has to say what I said is no longer what I'm going to do if he shows up and signs a contract with them, which is fine. Like, it's whatever. Life is filled with awkward situations. It's not that big of a deal, but I think it's significant if he shows up because it's a complete change in his public presentation of the situation.
I guess I don't look at his stance anymore as like trade me or else. Like, it feels like that's over. Like he lost.
That's what it feels like. But again, he has done nothing publicly, not a thing, right?
Yeah. Besides go to Warriors games.
And that Vegas signing thing wasn't he wearing like, what was he wearing? Was he wearing something red maybe when he signed autographs at the draft?
Don't remember, but yeah, I mean, I just look at it like, I think everyone knows the stance now. I think the only question, knows like you're stuck here. The only question is like, will they pay him? Like, that's where they're at. Like, Debo's you're not getting traded. Like that ship sailed, buddy. Like, you lost.
Has he accepted that is my question.
Did you lose, or did you really care that much, or was it really just kind of throwing it out there, seeing the response? Because it wasn't, I think it's a little overrated how like hard of a stance he took. I know it was crazy because you don't usually see it happen that way, but it wasn't like trade me or else.
But he said trade me.
Yeah, that was 3-4 months ago.
I understand, but that was what happened. Like that's where this started. Like it didn't start from some rant. It started when he said trade me. That's where it started.
And they said no.
You can't lose when you sign a contract for $60 million. There's no L's in that, or whatever his contract's going to be. And that's the reality, is I think you're willing to do whatever it takes to sign a $60 million contract or a $70 million.
You could argue, you're saying it's an L for him. You could also argue.
No, I'm not saying it's an L at all. I'm saying the second he signs a contract, it's a win. No,
you're saying it's an L for him and his stance if he capitulates and does a hold in and shows up. You could also argue, like, look at Kyler. There's just maybe you just take some time, take a deep breath, think, be tactful about your decision, and approach it a little bit differently to try to get paid.
I think that's a good way to look at it. My first tactic of strong-arming these guys didn't work. But again, the one thing we don't know with him is...
Wouldn't John and Kyle probably recommend that? We'd love to have you around the guys.
Absolutely.
We'd want you here.
Yeah,
please come. Absolutely. You can stand on the sideline.
I
do think you have to wear team apparel.
You can't wear just like... what was the finals game that Mahomes was wearing like a Mav... Or was it the Western Conference Finals? Yeah, against the Warriors. Mahomes wore like a Mavs jersey. His wife wore like a Balenciaga jersey or something. Like she was picking no team other than high fashion. That's my squad. Yeah, I mean, part of it, to your point, that we don't really know with him is, was it all a negotiating tactic? Or did he really, was there a point in time where he said, there was a 0% chance I'm back on the 49ers, and he has since had to change that perspective?
It's $1 million question.
We don't know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right?
No.
Once he shows up, they get him. Once they do a contract, he gets paid. There's nothing to really complain about.
Yeah.
And I think part of this, to your point about the awkwardness or why there shouldn't be any, is the Niners, for their part, Kyle and John, have been effusive in what they've said about him publicly. Like, I don't know if you saw the clip today. Darvin Ham got introduced. Shout out to Darvin Ham, by the way. Darvin Ham got introduced as the new Lakers coach.
I saw someone said future name was Darvin, Haberman, and Middlekauff. Or it was the first comment. It was Darvin, Ham, and Middle. That was pretty good.
That's good. Did you see the clip where somebody asked him about Russell Westbrook? He started going on and on and on about how Russell Westbrook's one of the greatest players in the league. And then the camera at the press conference cuts, and Russell is there watching the press conference, which of course Darvin knows, right? Yeah. So same deal. Like, who cares what anybody else thinks other than you got to coach this guy. You're my boy. So my fake MySpace back in 2002 was Darvin Ham.
Milwaukee Buck, was that team he's on?
Yeah, it was a Buck. So I don't know. I mean, I think obviously it's in everybody's best interest for him to show up. It would be a pretty big jump, I think, from being a total hard line to then not ever actually missing anything.
I guess my point is, as of recording this, no clue if he'll show up. Mayoko thinks he's not going to be there. I think most people assume he's not going to. I don't think it would be that crazy if he's there. I guess my point, because I don't think he's on some crazy stance. I think that died.
I don't think it'd be crazy if he's there either, but I think it would be. I do think it would.
It would be very significant. I just don't think people view him like some hardcore stance. Like it's this or else. That's not what it feels like.
Well, it can't be that, right?
Well, yeah, he lost
now. Yeah, it can't be that now. Now he could be complaining to them about Garoppolo's getting an excused absence. Where's my excused absence? And I guess the Niners would say, well, these are two different situations. We don't want Jimmy here, and we do want you here.
The Niners could excuse him. I mean, that is one thing they technically could do.
They could, but
I doubt they would. I mean, part of this is want to get this figured out. The Jimmy thing isn't really that crazy. Like, he's rehabbing. They don't want him around. I think this brings into play, if they can't trade him by the time training camp starts, would they open training camp by doing this, excusing his absence while he trains on his own? Because I still believe that I don't believe that you can have him taking second team reps. You and I talked about that. I think you kind of thought they could. I don't think it's as
I think it's crazy. I don't think it is the circus. That's where I don't think it becomes a circus necessarily.
I think it's a circus for a young guy that's never been a starting quarterback. And I think that's a lot to ask him with that shadow of him just like looks over there and maybe Jimmy's breaking some bread with some other starter. It's just a weird situation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I do think now it's on the table that they just open up camp maybe for a week just to canvas, see if a guy goes down or two, and just maybe do that. Like that, to me, that's the first thing I thought of was like going into training camp. Would it be shocking if for 2 weeks, July 30th, they show up or 28th, they're on the field August 1, and from like August 1 to August 12th or 14th, Jimmy is just away as they just wait.
Jimmy just working out in like non-logo gear.
Exactly. Throwing with some college kids or, some, USFL type guys.
Looking
I don't
like,
even know what he'd be doing, but
looking like Justin Thomas after Polo dropped him.
Do you think that'd be on the table?
Yes.
Because I don't think if they're all in on Trey, which I'm going to assume they are right now after watching it, and I think they are. And I also do not think Jimmy Garoppolo's taking another rep at a 49er practice ever again in his life.
They're also done playing the game of saying, well, we could keep Jimmy, right? Kyle Shanahan said 2 weeks ago, we're going to trade him. And we were at the press conference where he said it.
And I'm sure tomorrow when he gets asked about the unexcused absence, maybe it will be Big J's. Could this possibly go into training camp with this move as an unexcused absence? If, because part of it,
absence.
Wouldn't you say, yeah, excuse. Part of it's an easy one. He's injured. He can't throw. So it's an easy one to do for them. What about like Jimmy's full go? What about when that tweet happens? You're sitting there having a cervezas, right? July 4th, rap sheet. Happy America Day. And by the way, Jimmy Garoppolo, his agent says full go. So there's no like, well, Jimmy's not ready. No, Jimmy's been full go since July 4th or whatever the date happens. It could be the end of June. That tweet's coming over summer break, right? A rap sheet chef. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo has been cleared and good to go.
The second it happens, it's Don Yee telling the Niners, all right, time to move. And telling all the other teams out there, time to move.
Because the 49ers also want that information out. It behooves everyone to get like, Jimmy's full go. Do you think we get a video, like does Schefter tweet with a video of a couple throws? Maybe shirt off? Subway sandwich in the back? Product placement? Or do you just get the tweet?
Deep ball?
Or you just get the tweet?
Throwing from a roof in like Huntington Beach across the street?
Yeah. Kyle.
At his VRBO? Playing catch with Shanahan?
What is a VRBO again?
It's same as Airbnb. For whatever reason, that's where my parents always go VRBO. I don't know why.
Same concept?
Same exact thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you were Debo, could you ask for the excused absence? You probably can't. I mean, you can ask for anything, but because it did cross my mind to your original point on this is, does it help you get something done with Debo if you treat him this way? Like, would Debo appreciate that? And I don't think you can do that because now you're you don't want to set the precedent, right? That anybody who holds out, we've excused a guy from a holdout before because Jim Garoppolo is not a holdout. Debo, it's potentially as a holdout, right?
Yeah.
And what you're doing is creating the loophole to go back to the way the NFL used to be, where we could refund your fines, basically, if eventually your tactic works and we sign you to a contract. And I don't think you want to establish that precedent.
No, I agree.
So, Nick Bosa. I mean, Joey shows up last week. Joey showed up to voluntary, right?
Yeah.
But Joey's got a contract.
Joey makes a lot. I think $27 million.
Joey
so maybe they're like, hey, Joey, could you give us just 2 weeks of your time, please? Just 2 weeks. We're paying you $27 a year. Just 2 weeks, buddy.
It's just for the if we get a couple Instagram vines or whatever
just
reels out of it.
Couple reps with you and old Khalil just run around together. We'd feel comfortable with that. Again, $27 million a year. We did it.
Here's the latest on Monday from Rap Sheet, Ian Rappaport. Aaron Donald's contract. He's not retiring. No new years were added to his deal, but he got a $40 million raise over his previous contract, which carried a base salary of just $9.25 million this year. His new contract guarantees him $95 million over the next 3 years, 65 in the first two, and then 30 in year 3. So a little more in the first 2, whatever. I don't know if it's exactly, 32 and a half, 32 and a half, 30, but it's $95 million over 3 years.
His 3-year cash flow is the highest in NFL history. Higher than Josh Allen, higher than Mahomes. That's what I read right before we hopped on.
Which is pretty wild, right? For an interior defensive lineman.
Yeah. I think many will consider one of the great defensive players when it's all said and done. I'd say if he has a couple more years and they make a couple more playoff runs, his resume would be pretty special.
Yeah, there was never going to be, even if he doesn't do anything else, if he had retired after 8 years, a conversation about his career length, right? When it comes to Hall of Fame candidacy.
Well, and wouldn't you say one thing he's really got going for him than, like, let's say J.J. Watt, who I would say is one of the best players of the last decade. How many playoff games J.J. really been in? A couple, right? I mean, he's lost a lot in the first round. Aaron Donald's been to multiple Super Bowls, ton of playoff games, a Super Bowl champion. Like, I've been to multiple Super Bowls, and I was the best player on both of our Super Bowl teams. I mean, I helped have the game-winning play in the NFC Championship game. Like, he has some memorable NFL moments.
Yeah.
Right? The Burrow sack. I mean,
once you win the Super Bowl on that play.
Yeah.
When
the
NFC
NFC
Championship, like Jamar Chase was open.
You can say back-to-back games. He won in the NFC Championship game on the final play, and he won in the Super Bowl in the final play.
Yeah. Good news for Daniel Brunskill, the Aaron Donald stopper, but bad news for everybody else.
Alex Mack's like, poo.
and good news. Yeah, I know. And good news for Nick Bosa. So, how does this affect the way you view a Nick Bosa contract?
Well, don't we look at it a little bit like Debo with the older guys that got signed, Tyreek and Devontae? Like, Debo doesn't have that much in common with them because he just hasn't been doing it nearly as long. Like, ultimately, Aaron Donald feels like he's been elite since the moment he got to the league, but he's definitely been elite like a year or two in and for like 6 straight years. A long period of time of like, he's locked All-Pro, Pro Bowl, and probably going to win the Defensive Player of the Year, which I think he's done 3 times. So I just don't know. I think his comp is more his brother, that contract, with like an extra little 5% inflation kicker than it is this.
Let me ask you this. If Mike Sando did his tiers list for receivers and defensive linemen, Aaron Donald would obviously be on tier 1. Would Nick Bosa be on tier 1?
I think so, yeah.
I do too. If he did his tiers list for receivers, would Deebo Samuel be on tier 1?
Probably not.
I think he'd be on tier 2.
Because don't you think a lot of people would be like, well, Kyle's not our coach. You know, it would be, who it would be? Devontae, Jamar, Justin, Tyreek might be the group, right?
Yeah. No Diggs.
He'd be a fringe one, but I think a lot of people would be like,
Kelsey?
You could probably put him there.
So
I just think Debo's
that's where I
like
think
kind
they're
of
a little
his own
different.
Category.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes those tiers are sometimes like there's a tier 2 that's like one guy or whatever, but
I think everyone
that's
would
where I think they're a little
Debo's a remarkable player, but they're like, I don't know if our coach would know what to do. Nick Bosa, any coach, any scheme he could play in. He's like Khalil Mack. I think he's Joey Bosa. He's Aaron Donald. Trent Williams. I'd say Trent Williams, non-player. He'd be in tier 1 of just players. Doesn't matter the scheme. Doesn't matter what your coach asks him to do. He's going to dominate. That to me is where Nick Bosa falls under, where it's like ultimately Debo, I think they don't want to get bent over. Like they want to feel almost like they won, or like it's a team-friendly deal, even if we're paying you a lot. I think they know they're going to wave the white flag with this guy and pay a shitload of money.
That there's not much negotiation. So the question is, what would be viewed as the right offer? $30 million a year? Especially if it's a year from now.
Don't you just do the Khalil Mack like a super long, or Aaron Donald like a 6-year extension? So
and
basically, it's like
you're in this
8 years.
position.
Yeah.
Whereas like 5 years in, you're like 4 years in, you go, oh yeah, okay, $30 million. Now you're being underpaid. We'll give you a little bit of a raise. But we're not. That's what you liked about the Aaron Donald deal, right? Is that you're not adding any years to it. It's expensive, but you're not tying yourself in any longer.
Because remember, we talked about like, it's a shitty spot for them if they got to rip it up and give them a new $120 million deal and tie themselves 5 years. That's not what this is. This is actually probably one of the easier contracts the Rams have ever signed.
Because it was a simple
deal.
And it was as simple as, do we want him back or not? Because if we want him back, this is what it's going to cost.
Yeah. They want him back.
And they want him back. They need him back.
Yeah. But the 49ers, they are very, very dependent on. I was like, what number is Nick Bosa? Just think
97.
97. Yeah, he's pretty key to what they do. He's an elite player. I mean, he's pretty special, and that's just in that position. Where George Kittle gets screwed, Nick Bosa. If you're a good pass rusher, you strike oil.
Well, if you said to Kyle Shanahan, you can keep one, and the other one's gone,
I don't even think he'd hesitate.
You think he'd take Nick Bosa
Over 19?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you put a gun to his head and said,
wild.
You have to trade one right now, Debo would get traded.
Here's the thing. I think if you said both of them will give you 6 more great years, in that scenario, I think he might take Debo. I would consider Debo in that scenario because he's so unique. He's so hard to replace.
I would not, just because it's not so much easier. It's easier for me to find an offensive weapon than it is a pass rusher. They just don't exist, guy.
Yeah, you have to get in the top 3.
Not on an all-pro level.
Yeah, but I think you could also argue maybe they're a little overvalued on the 49ers team that like produces 5th round defensive lineman kind of playmakers.
What if I'm just going to throw this out there. He's claimed he doesn't want to be a defensive coordinator, but what if let's just assume he's from the South, and I told you, NC State offers Chris Kasurik the head coaching job, or just something like there's just not a guarantee that you're just keeping him for life.
Right.
Like you are very dependent on that human being. Like you lose him, wouldn't you say it would be pretty like I'm going to assume he's not going to become a defensive coordinator because he said that. But like, I don't know what college, what if there's like a program offered him a head job? I don't know. We've seen crazier.
And you could argue if you're a head coach who controls one side of the ball, you should overcorrect on the other side of the ball, right? Like Andy Reid should spend the most money on his non-quarterback, most money on a defensive star because he can't control that side of the ball. You could argue that. I guess my ultimate point is like, I don't think it would be as crazy as it sounds with Debo. And what it illuminates to me is part of the question with Debo is, can you do this for 6 more years? Because I think with Nick Bosa, there's not really much. Can you do what Nick Bosa does for 6 more years? Yes. The answer to that question is yes, you can.
He went to Texas Tech, and he's from Texas. Now, Texas Tech they clearly just got a new coach because they fired Matt Wells last year.
Yeah, they hired Sonny Cumbie, I think.
Yeah. No clue who that is, but I mean, they hired kind of a random guy. But my point is, like, what if Texas Tech, K-State, one of those type programs where he's from, you just never know. He'd become a head coach and pay him $5 million a year. Maybe not, $4 million a year.
Yeah.
He's making a ton now. He's got a good gig. That to me is the only way you lose him. But I don't feel that confident that I don't think you can just pencil in like Chris Kasurik's going to be their defensive line coach as long as Kyle Shanahan. Like,
yeah, devalue the talent you get because you have Chris Kasurik and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I think they're very, very lucky. And sometimes the Eagles, they took Stoutland from Alabama right when I got fired. He's their offensive line coach a decade later, and probably is the highest paid offensive line coach in the league. Jeff Stoutland, yeah, and he's elite. I mean, they took the rugby guy, turned him into a premium tackle. I would say that's kind of an outlier. Like how many, if we went around the league and we just who are the top 10 position coaches, but most of them haven't been on their team longer than 3 or 4 years, right?
Well, I mean, how long was Dante Scarnecchia in one place?
But I'd say he's a clear outlier.
But the top 10 position coaches are all outliers.
Yeah, but they usually get opportunities to become coordinators.
Yeah.
He would be number one. He retired, and he was, I think many would say he was a huge key to their success. Howard Mudd. It does happen sometimes with line guys because
they
one
don't
thing,
become coaches, head coaches,
and they don't necessarily they get paid a shitload of money. A lot of times they sneaky get paid like coordinators, and they just kind of love their unit like more than their family. Like they truly resonate with those guys in a weird way, like more than any other human beings that they'll ever meet in their life.
They just want to be in their little bubble.
They just want to be with their 8 guys in the trenches. They're able to scream unfiltered. There's just not. Remember Jonathan Martin when he freaked out? The reason that was such a big deal is you never see offensive linemen not be able to take it, and that It's just usually offensive and defensive linemen. Part of the gig is like, we're going to get our ass chewed every day. Trent Williams, like, yeah, I don't even listen. You know, he just yells. I just block.
He's not yelling at me.
Yeah, he probably isn't getting yelled at. How often do you think Trent Williams has been yelled at in the last 5 years of his playing career?
I mean, less than 5 times.
All
the drills that require yelling, they sit Trent out of them anyway, probably. So
how many times do you think like Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack been yelled at in the last 5 years? Aaron, Khalil maybe every once.
Khalil a little bit more.
When's the last time Aaron Donald's been called out by a coach?
You think Brandon Staley was screaming at him?
No.
So $30 million over 6 years, since you said the Khalil Mack contract is $180 million.
I think the 49ers would do a long-term contract with Bosa, don't you? And just spread the cash out.
Yeah.
With Debo, I think they would do the opposite. They would try to just let's just get it in right now and see what happens.
And if we pay him again in 3 years, fine.
I get the risk.
He's not going to want less than 4 years.
I think it's going to get pretty ugly. You could argue maybe it's going to get uglier.
Excuse him before you start talking. Because you're right. Because the point is you haven't, maybe what set him off was the first offer. Has there not been a discussion since then about what this is going to cost and how much they want to pay? Right.
What would your reaction be tomorrow at practice if Debo walked over and got behind Grant and started messing with him?
Is Grant pro pay him or anti pay him?
You know, if you're anti Debo Samuel, I think we got to question whether you know what you're talking about. I think everyone I've ever seen talk about Debo Samuel is pretty pro Debo as a player.
Well, it's hard to be pro Debo too, because no one's suggesting you make him the highest paid receiver, right?
Part of it, yeah. But are we talking John Robinson to AJ Brown? Can we get you for $16 million?
What if he gets a text on his way out to the field? Glad you're there. Thanks for showing up. From his agent. Just talked to Parag. We just talked first offer 19.5 per year. As he's walking out, and then he sees John Lynch. John.
I would love a good contract negotiation on the field. I bet that
Uber's a helicopter to pick him up from the practice field.
I feel like that happened probably more in the 70s, 80s, and maybe even the 90s of just fuck you, man. You ain't pay. Just that is so less likely to happen now. And I'd pay money to see a blow up.
Shanahan hits him with you got to talk to John Lynch about that. I got nothing to do with it, Debo.
Yeah.
Debo's I know you call the shots.
I know you're the decision maker. I know it starts and ends with you, Kyle. I put my trust in you. You put your trust in me, and now you're screwing me. I got someone sent me some text messages that you sent another agent. They took a screenshot because that happens now.
I saw what happened to AJ.
I know you told John Robinson he did a good deal and that you like Traylon Burks too, and you thought about it.
Kyle's you want to be a Jet? You want to be a Jet?
And the whole place is going silent.
Kasarik is just running. Kasarik's running drills with his guys.
Doesn't even flinch, screaming at some little undersized D tackle to get off. Trent Williams is in flip flops. Didn't even think about wearing.
Purdy's trying to get Ayuk to run some route. Brandon's man, just give me a minute. I'm watching.
It would be great. Jed's in Aruba.
Media trying to film under their arm.
Yeah.
No filming.
This does not go out to the public.
The old days of the NFL. John C. on the stream says, Chris Peterman said in his podcast, he made it sound like Debo was the one that told people that Trey, quote unquote, wasn't it.
Well, we got to start working on that relationship, Time to get those guys to be buddies.
They may not have a choice.
What if Debo did a hold in and it was I want Jimmy. I want Jimmy. Can you? I mean, that would be better than a scream about money.
Just FaceTiming Garoppolo from the sideline. You got to get here, man.
I want Jimmy while Chase taking reps.
You just telling people I don't know. Are we sure there's not a competition? Sudfeld? I mean, is it just me? No one else sees it?
Yeah.
What if he just does a press conference and he only talks about Sudfeld and Purdy?
Like a TO style? Remember in the driveway doing sit-ups with Drew?
Yeah, what team was he? Was he on the Eagles when that happened?
Yeah, what happened is that he was being such a malcontent at training camp, and he kicked him out. And this is like August 10th, says leave. They kicked him out of training camp. So he went home and did the sit-ups in his driveway while training. I mean, training camp. It was the middle of training camp because I think he wanted a huge contract extension.
Did I send you the story, Deshaun talking about McNabb, or have you seen that?
Yeah, I didn't, but I hadn't seen it, but you sent it to me. Yeah.
He called Donovan the cheapest rich guy he's ever met, something like that.
Yeah. Clearly, I didn't quite realize this, but Donovan and Deshaun didn't like each other.
Well, Deshaun made the Pro Bowl. He became the first player to make the Pro Bowl at two different positions, or the first receiver to maybe start at two different positions. Must have been returner and receiver back-to-back years. And he's like, and then so Mike Vick clearly told Deshaun this story because McNabb told Vick, like, he doesn't deserve to be a Pro Bowler. And so he was pissed about it. He said McNabb used to charge, he would have like a white party, everyone dressed in white, and tickets were $25, and he would charge his teammates to come. So you want, some people like, you want two tickets? Like, yeah, that'd be $25 each.
I don't know if he was the most well-liked guy by that younger crew when they came. Like, you could tell Shady was like, tell him. Like, they didn't like him.
Shady was like, oh, I love this story. I love every guy. There's always like a cut during a story. It's like, you remember Hank Basket? And Brandon Marshall's like, Hank Basket. And then they cut to Pac-Man. He's like, Hank Basket.
You know what they were all thinking when
they're all thinking about Kendra.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some good Hank Basket stories that we haven't gotten in on.
Yeah, I mean, Donovan got some strays there. He should have
not strays. They were direct hits. I mean, clearly he is not loved.
I love too when a guy like is about to talk shit, but is like, listen, I don't know what other guy said about this. I don't care. Like, it's not, I'm just telling you from my perspective. 17 other people hated him too. That's not my opinion, but this is my opinion. I can't stand the motherfucker. You know?
I know, but he's like, I got no issue with him. But he's the cheapest rich guy I've ever met, and he told Michael Vick that I suck. But I got no problem with him. I don't speak.
By the time those guys got there too, he was kind of old and over the hill, and I think he was like a bitter former Pro Bowler. You know, not everyone handles the swan the last couple years of your career when you're no longer in the peak as well as some.
When the young guy comes in and doesn't treat you right, like one of Deshaun's things was like, they had some party and McNabb was like, "What bottle of champagne are you gonna buy me?" Deshaun was a rookie. Deshaun's like, I'm not buying you shit. I'm a rookie. What are you talking about?
I love Deshaun acting like he's some tough guy.
Well, he's like, you know where I'm from. Like, I'm not getting pushed around. That was kind of his thing. Like, he is a tough guy. Like,
I'm from LA.
Yeah, that was his thing. It's like, I'm not getting punked into some rookie. He's like, I didn't do anything. I never bought one rookie meal. Like, you're not hazing me. I was like,
well, yeah. Andy did have a no haze policy. But just because it makes everything so much easier. I don't even think hazing exists anymore.
I think the rookie meal, maybe that thing maybe exists, but even that, like, you guys are so rich. How are you not just, what are we doing here?
I think rookie hazing used to be like, I tie you to the top of the goalpost and we throw baseballs at you.
Yeah.
We're going to light your feet on fire and see if you can put it out with like 2 ounces of water. Like, I mean, rookie hazing used to be like really, really mean. It wasn't like bring McDonald's to the plane. Like, that's easy. Like, to me, is that even hazing or is that just part of like, being,
I mean, now filling some guy's car with popcorn is like going too far, which actually I actually do think that particular prank is stupid. Like, it's so much effort, man. I just want to get my car, go home. Like, I got to clean up popcorn from this car. Like,
that's why you do it.
It's so stupid.
The one that sucks is when they tape you to the goalpost.
When was the last time that prank happened? Like, not in Texas 8-man high school football.
I feel like 5, 7, 10 years ago on Hard. It's definitely happened on a Hard Knocks before, but it might have been like when we were in college.
But even to me, like a Hard Knocks is a little different because it's a little funnier, and it's like there's someone there who's gonna untape you right after they finish filming it. Like, you can't be too mean on camera because then you look like such a dick. You just make it kind of funny.
It's pretty funny in Hard Knocks when the guy has like 18 pairs of shoulder pads like this and walking down.
That one's always, or like 7 helmets, you know. That's always a good one.
It's like, hey guys, we got an equipment car right here that has a huge flatbed that we can just lay all the shit.
We pay 7 people to do this, right? We pay a bunch of people to do this.
But what are you going to do?
Yeah. All right. So we'll head down to Niners practice on Tuesday morning. We'll hear Kyle Shanahan speak. It will be at his press conference. And we call that boots on the ground. And then we'll be back here on the tube and on the podcast streets.
Let's do
Making it rain. Making it rain. Thanks for all of your contributions. Everybody listening, everybody liking, everybody subscribing, everybody sharing, everybody hating. No publicity, bad publicity. And yeah,
That's Phil.
appreciate that, Phil. Do you think Phil waited Mickelson
Yes.
to let other guys catch the heat?
Well, I just think I think he strategically told me just announced the week of. It always got back to him. Like there was no avoiding the heat for him. But if you're him, why not just wait till this week?
You also give the PGA Tour as little warning as possible that you're coming to the U.S. Open right after, right? The U.S. Open's next week.
Yeah. I do think I would imagine the PGA Tour assumed that he was going no matter what.
But when you put it on what I mean is you put it on paper, like I'm going to this live event and then I'm coming to the PGA.
Yeah. Well, he wrote in his statement,
Yeah.
I'm playing in majors.
Yeah.
Like, hey, motherfuckers, I'm back.
Which the Masters is not they're not all the same, right? Like a couple of them are not.
Well, one, he's got lifetime exemptions, and the two, because he's a champion.
No, right? I know, but I'm saying they're not all PGA events.
No, I think this is the only one.
The Players is separate.
He retired from the PGA. I think him and Kevin Na retired from the PGA Tour. So Kevin Na, like I don't think I saw someone tweet around golf today. I think today Phil Mickelson basically just acknowledged, I'm never playing on the PGA Tour again. Like you'll never see him at like Riviera, or Arnold Palmer. Like he's done with the PGA Tour. But the four majors and the live for money, which he is 51. Who even cares? I don't even blame him.
You could argue the $200 million they gave him, they've already made like for free. He's already done a lot of publicity work for them. Like him becoming controversial was better for live golf than if it had gone smoothly.
Well, what are the chances that a bunch
now
of
it feels like renegades and like, am I supposed to even be watching this?
Well, what's your guess? Like, the USFL and the like this weekend highlights with the golf, live, London, Phil, DJ on Twitter accounts and Instagram. Hi.
Yeah, I think people are going to be fascinated to see what this looks like.
Big time. I think there are going to be a lot of.
Well, here's what they don't want. They don't want Dustin to win this thing by like 17 strokes. 17's high, but you want a good event. And you'd like these guys to kind of be in the mix. Actually, 3 rounds of golf fits Phil's lifestyle better.
I know it's on. I mean, I'll peek at YouTube.
Now, no cut doesn't fit. You like to just, if there's a cut and you're playing shitty that day, just get out of Dodge. No cuts. You got to play 3 days of golf no matter what,
I think it's team event. I mean, I think a lot of people don't exactly know what it's going to be.
It's a team event?
Well, that's what originally it was supposed to be, but I don't know if it still is. I mean, I don't think a lot of people quite
do they know? Has Liv figured it out?
Well, I mean, you think these guys are going just, I don't know. Huh. Just on YouTube with a camera?
Yeah, just we're streaming.
Hey, Phil, can you give us we're behind you.
It's got like the hearts, from like the Twitter stream.
Can you imagine the comments on their YouTube? If they're live on YouTube, like you can comment.
You can lock it out. That's what MLB does when they stream Major League Baseball games is they lock it out.
Why would Liv even care?
Yeah. You don't want somebody moderating it. You just have a few people. But when does that start on Friday?
I mean, shotgun. I mean, I don't know what time the shotgun starts usually start, like noon, 10. It's overseas. So.
Yeah, you have breakfast for every shotgun start I've been to. You have breakfast first, then somebody talks to everybody.
Then all the carts go out.
All the carts go out. Yeah. Everybody gets their ball marker.
Yeah.
You get 3 tees and some balls.
Everyone's got their coffee in their hand.
Yeah, exactly. Breakfast burrito. You're smashing that on the first hole. I hear there's an opening in Vegas. Yes, Brett Musburger has retired. Saw that story.
Did he retire?
Heard about that. He tweeted that he's stepping away.
In fairness to Brent, he is really, really old, right?
I think he's over 80, right?
I think he's 85.
We've looked
at
that before.
Did you see that thing I Instagrammed of the Deshaun play against Tennessee? Like one of the most, that return where he like crosses the field and takes it to the house. Cal, Tennessee, like 07.
Recently?
I Instagram storied it. Yeah, it was just
like recently.
This was a couple days ago.
Oh, okay.
But on that highlight, it was the game of the day because Cal was like 10. Tennessee was 13. It was week 1 at Cal. They had done the home and home. It was Musburger and Herbie. And Musburger still sounded like, this is 15 years ago. I mean, Brent, he's 83, so he was old then. He's 83 years old, guy.
Wow.
83.
So we got hired at 81, as GT on the stream says.
No, Papa's
80.
been doing it.
It's been 3 years, right?
Papa's first year, the Super Bowl year?
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him at that Super Bowl, and he was not totally comfortable.
You see the clip I posted today from 2 months ago when Papa was on talking about how Garoppolo, just like, you remember he gave us the hypothetical. He's like, Deshaun Watson not going to play this year. They'll suspend them. Garoppolo will be the Browns. And I went and found it and posted it today. And I was just, Greg's got big Niner logo on the hat. Just happy.
Yeah. Wouldn't you be?
Yeah, he's good. He's good. So, I don't know who they're going to hire. I've heard some behind the scenes things that probably can't share at the moment. Maybe one day.
Have they reached out to you?
No.
You think you're on their list?
I had a conversation with somebody, just a buddy of mine who calls games. And he was like, if they call me, I'm going to tell them only if Middlekauff is my analyst.
That'd be awesome.
So, yeah. We got some. We'll see what happens. We shall see, John.
Keep on.
I'm going to hit end broadcast, and then I'll tell you what I've heard. Middlekauff.
Peace.
All right, later, everybody.